We will be discussing the good and the not so good aspects regarding the current federal programs that are available for small business owners and self-employed individuals.
Educate your money now.
Hello, and welcome to Educate Your Money podcast. I'm your host, kirui-case, owner of McKee Bookkeeping Services. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. This podcast is geared towards small business owners and self-employed individuals who have topics and questions they like to discuss and get answers. Make sure you post where you're watching or listening from and what type of business you own or would like to own. Also, be sure to share this with other business owners who may find value in this podcast. Please tune in every Monday for a new episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at educating_your_money and Facebook at Educating Your Money Podcast. Today's episode is called COVID-19 Federal Business Relief, the Good and the Bad. We will be discussing the good and the not so good aspects regarding the current federal programs that are available for small business owners and self-employed individuals, and how, depending upon your situation, these loans may or may not be the right option for you. Fortunately, by the airing of this episode, Congress has already agreed upon a new stimulus package giving small businesses more funding to the federal programs that we will be discussing today. I wanted to continue to get the answers that many of you have asked for in case businesses that did not get a chance the first time around get the answers necessary for them to decide if they want to apply. Post any comments or questions you may have below, and we will try to answer each question. We would also like to thank Out and About Business Solutions for sponsoring our podcast. Today's guest is Brandon McKee, enrolled agent and owner of Tax and Income Management Enterprises. Randy is an enrolled agent with 20 years of professional experience planning, preparing, and consulting with businesses on tax and business success strategies. Hello, Randy, and thank you for being on the show today.
Hello, Kristen. Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we've known each other for a while, and I see you have the quarantine hair going on.
Yes, I do. It's just wash and go. It's what we're doing these days.
Right. Yeah, definitely. As we all know, we are living in unprecedented times, and things change on a daily basis. Business owners and self-employed individuals are being challenged and having to make some difficult decisions. So the government has provided some short-term relief through federal programs, and many business owners are wondering if these are the right ones for them. So since additional funding has been agreed upon, more businesses have this as an option if it's the appropriate one for their situation, which is why I've continued with this episode today. Randy, as you already know, there are many questions around this subject, and I'm sure you are answering them on a daily basis. We have some questions from our viewers that I'd like to ask you. What are some changes that have come up in the recent weeks that small business owners and self-employed individuals should be aware of regarding the federal relief programs that are available?
Well, one of the things that is really important that they understand is that unemployment is for people that are W-2'd, but the legislature, Congress has passed rules that allow the self-employed or the business owner to apply for and receive unemployment. Not just unemployment, but the federal pandemic unemployment, which is another payment on top of the unemployment, where the two of them will, and it could potentially earn you, or you could receive more weekly income than you are receiving in your normal wages. Of course, this gets taxed at a later time, while our wages get taxed at the time that they're paid. But for the business owner, it's really important that they understand that they may qualify. That's a state specific. The states are the ones that have to actually give those funds out. So some of the states aren't doing that. So you have to look at the state. In the state of Nevada, they are planning on doing that. It's just a very big change to the system, to the software for them to implement that program for us online. And so we just have to keep watching. And if people want to apply for that, they need to go to the Nevada Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation. They can find that by just Googling DETR. They can keep up to date on what's happening, and when that system comes up and is ready, they can apply for that. It will backdate potentially for the unemployment to the 27th of January, and the federal pandemic unemployment will start March 4th. So you can get up to 6 months on the unemployment and 4 months on the pandemic unemployment, and it will backdate.
That's great information. Should business owners or self-employed individuals be concerned with the programs running out of money again?
These loans and programs, no, I don't really think so. I think that, Congress, sure, there's a lot of partisanship and fighting going on, but they're going to do the right thing eventually for the American people. They're going to fund. The biggest concern is really qualifying. It's still a loan. And now you're talking about being in a situation where you don't have income because your business is taking a big hit. And so it kind of becomes an issue qualifying. And there's a lot of red tape, a lot of ifs, ands, and buts that you have to get through. So my biggest concern would be qualifying. I've got clients that are in the banking industry, and they're not seeing a large success rate of people actually getting the loans.
For those that have applied and are approved, what accounting practices should they put in place to ensure they are abiding by the terms of the loan?
It's really important that they keep track of what expense they have, the type of expense, when the expense occurs, and how much the expense was. The reason being is there's parts of these loans that may be forgiven. They may turn into grants and not have to be repaid. If you're able to tell them exactly when you incurred this cost and what the cost amount was, what it was for, then you may get some of those things forgiven. Otherwise, it's critical. It's always critical in business to have great bookkeeping separate of that. But for these loans, it's really critical.
And I hear some are suggesting actually even having a whole separate account.
I don't know that I would go that far, but it certainly is important to be able to show during the time periods what expenses that you had, when you had those expenses, how much they were, because we want to try, if they're going to have some of that forgiven, why wouldn't we want that? It's really critical that there's accurate bookkeeping there.
So just organize it in a way so it's easily reportable.
Yeah. If bookkeeping has been kind of a problem for you in the past, I strongly recommend that you hire somebody like you, Kristen, to help with that bookkeeping so that they, make sure that they're doing what they need to do with that loan. Let's it's a shot in the arm. Let's make the best use of it.
So true. Yeah. And for those businesses that have decided to take these loans, what should they pay attention to or prepare for once the 8-week program is over and they're back to being out of money?
I think it's critical. I advise all my business clients right now. Even I've been advising this way back to when this all started. Cut costs. Do everything that you can to reduce your costs. You don't want to get into a negative situation on a weekly or monthly basis. We may be starting to open up here in Nevada in the next week or 2 or 3. But that's not really necessarily the answer, because we don't know when people are going to have money, when people as individuals or when other businesses are going to have money and be able to really start spending it on whatever it is, whatever service or whatever material it is that our client or the viewers, what they're offering people. We don't know what the new normal is going to look like. We don't know when we're going to get there. Are we going to get there 6 months? We're going to get there in a year. Could be a year and a half before we get there. So I think it's really important, because another thing that's happening right now is we're getting the opportunity to not make mortgage payments, to not make rent payments, to get these different payments kind of put on hold. But here's one of the catches to that, is that you still owe that money. That money's going to come due, and they're not going to start foreclosure proceedings on you, and you might get away with not making your payment for 3 or 4 or 6 months. But then you're going to have a limited amount of time to make those payments back up. And you're not only going to have to make that payment back up, but you're going to have to pay penalties and interests that accrue from the fact that you didn't make that payment on time. So it's just really critical that we fully understand every decision that we're making, what is going to be the result.
So what about a business who maybe has been approved for a program such as the PPP, but isn't currently functioning? Is it necessary for them to be actually functioning to be able to apply for these loans? I mean, what good would it do for someone who's not functioning, other than to employ for their employees to be on the payroll?
That's a situation, that's kind of a question that's really going to be specific to each individual business. But I think for the most part, if you're not functioning and you're not making money with the business, then what else matters? The purpose of the business is to provide whatever service or product it is that they provide, to make profit for the owner, to take care. And of course, in the process, they're providing for their employees and hopefully taking care of their employees and those type of things. But if you're not making a profit, why would you even consider staying open? Just close. And if you do it at the right time in the right way, you can reopen.
So what are some downsides, I guess, to a small business owner or self-employed individual should know about or think about prior to applying for these loans?
I work in taxes, which is a lot of government speakies, and I also do environmental work with the Clean Act and construction. And again, there's a lot of government regulations, and I've never seen regulations written with the terminology that they've been doing some of these loans. They're big. The words that just really kind of jump out to me is may be forgiven. That really scares me, because typically, you're really entering into a contract. The contract is going to clearly define, if you do A, B, C, we're going to do D, E, F. And that's not what it's saying. It's saying, if you do A, B, C, we may be forgiving it, which is D, E, F, this portion of it. So I think that it's really critical when a business feels that the loan is the right thing for them to do. They really need to know what they can afford. And when I say that, I'm saying what they can afford to pay back. They can't assume that any portion of this loan is going to be forgiven. They must look at it as, X amount, and they're going to have to pay back X amount plus a small amount of interest. They're very low interest loans. But you have to look at it from that perspective, not from the perspective of, I'm only going to have to pay half of it. I can afford that half. Because when you have to pay all of it back, you're going to end up losing your business, 6 months down the road. We don't want that to happen, period. We want to help our clients keep their businesses open and become successful. I'm really strongly suggesting that when they take those loans or when they look at that option, that they really make sure that they can afford to repay back all of that loan.
And not just look at it being a low interest rate loan and it's not going to be that bad, because obviously when it comes time, those loans will be due with whatever interest. And if you're not operational and you're then unable to afford those loans, because we don't know what will look like in the next 3-6 months.
Yeah, one of the big things of these loans that people aren't stopping to think about, yeah, it's low interest rate. I'm glad that you brought that up. It's low interest rate. It's short term.
Yeah.
We buy our homes on 30 years because even if it's low interest rate, we need that amount of time in order to pay that loan off. Cars are 6-year loans, 4 or 5 6-year loans. My parents, when they bought their first car, they bought it on I think it was a 1 or 2 year agreement. You know, it's completely, things have changed. And so it's just really critical. The more something alone, you've got this little short period of time to pay it off. You know, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 12 months, maybe it's 24 months. It depends on the size of the loan. You could be looking at now, coming through this virus, and you're like, oh, I'm doing good because I'm making money each month, not enough, but I'm making money. And then now you got to start making a $2,000 a month loan payment.
Right.
You know, so they have to really, it's just so critical. Make sure that you can afford to pay that back. Look at all the terms of the loan.
And so what are some accounting suggestions, and you might have mentioned a few of those, for businesses that have decided not to take these loans and have chosen to maybe temporarily shut down?
Well, we are kind of well into this virus now, a month or two, but we've got a long ways to go. I think it's very important that business owners still move quickly. I, at the beginning of this, advised all my clients to strongly look at cutting costs as much as possible. Several of them were like, well, they got these loan programs, I won't qualify if I lay people off, blah, blah, blah. And I just told them to ignore what the government's doing and use good business practices and cut costs. And I still feel that is still good advice. We need to cut costs as much as possible. This is going to be a long, drawn-out stress, financially, both personally and for businesses, well into next year. Negative cash flow is the enemy of business, especially in these hard times. If you're not making a profit, then you're sliding further and further and further into a deeper hole. I recommend to my clients, close, but plan to reopen, and close with that mentality. You're not losing the business. You're just temporarily shutting the business down. So it's a different mindset. Prepare yourself to come back. Maybe you need to break that lease, which the government has given us the option of the ability now to do that. Maybe you need to break that lease, which may mean, in your circumstances, you can't do it because you've done too many tenant improvements at your location. Every situation kind of, things like this make it more difficult, but we're looking at serious problems that are just going to drag out for the next 6 months, 12 months, year and a half. I can see these issues going on. It's just very critical that the business owner looks at the people that help him stay in business, which is his suppliers. Take care of those suppliers. Pay them. Help them to keep their doors open so that when you shut down, and if you come back in 3 months or 5 months or whatever it is, they're going to be there to help you reopen that business.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Randy. So on top of offering a free consultation, you have prepared a document called Company Tax Preparation Checklist for our audience if they are interested. So be sure, if you aren't interested, be sure to post #relief if you would like to receive a copy of this document. Randy, can you tell us a little bit about this document?
Some suggestions for business owners for expenses that they may qualify for. Everybody's situation is dependent upon their circumstances, what kind of business they're in, and what their life situation is. But these are all things that are most likely going to be deductible to the average business. It's just there to help them out, to give them an idea of what they can do, and them start thinking in that frame of mind, because I want them to call me. I'll talk to them and help them for free quite a bit. I'm happy to do that because I just want to, I want help to help people be successful.
Thank you. That's great. I would like to thank Randy for taking time out of his busy schedule, coming on the show and sharing his expertise. Be sure to post any questions or comments below. Let us know if there's a topic you would like to have discussed on the show. Comment below or email educatingyourmoney@gmail.com. And if you are interested in receiving a company tax preparation checklist, be sure to post #relief below or email educatingyourmoney@gmail.com with noted #relief. Randy, if any of our viewers or listeners have specific questions or wanted to discuss more with you, how can they reach you?
They can reach me at the company phone number, which is 702-822-1130, or even better, they can reach me by email. It's randy@taxandincomewarrior.com. We fight for our clients.
Thanks for watching Educating Your Money podcast, where it's not just about making money, but about educating money. See you next Monday for the next episode. Thank you, and be safe, everyone. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Kristen.
See you later.
See ya.